You're listening to Fast Facts Perio Edition. And now, here's your host, Katrina Sanders.
Hello, and welcome to Fast Facts Perio Edition. This month, I thought we would take a moment to acknowledge the true heroes in our profession, the dental hygiene students who are preparing to take their national boards. So for this month, we're going to be focusing on what I like to call, are you smarter than a dental hygiene student preparing for their national boards? This week, we are looking at histological observations of the periodontium. And buckle up, because this is going to feel like a review from dental hygiene school and the things you needed to know in order to pass your national boards. Okay, so we learned back in dental hygiene school that the mouth is comprised of a stratified squamous epithelial layer. Oh my gosh, are we brushing off the cobwebs? And within the oral cavity, we have three major types of mucosa. The first is our masticatory mucosa. So this is the mucosa that is going to protect the gingiva, and it is going to comprise the protective layer of our hard palate. Now, our masticatory mucosa is keratinized. And what I mean by that is that keratinization is really there. It's built to provide protective layers to that masticatory mucosa. I say when I'm teaching board prep that this really is almost like if you were going to eat a whole basket full of nachos, that you would want the areas where the corners of those tortilla chips are going to hit to be protected. But one important piece to know and to remember is that keratinization of that gingiva ends at the free gingival margin, which means that our attached gingiva is keratinized, but the free gingiva and at that free gingival margin line is no longer keratinized. That is considered non-keratinized. Then we move on to our lining mucosa. Our lining mucosa will be the alveolar mucosa, our soft palate, the mucosa within our vestibule, our buccal mucosa, that sublingual area, and our sulcular and junctional epithelium. Those are all considered lining mucosa. So that makes sense, right? Our sulcular lining or pocket lining mucosa, the vestibule is our lining mucosa. And these lining mucosas are non-keratinized. And that's really important, because sometimes we can see keratinization occurring on our lining mucosa, and that happens because of trauma or rubbing on that tissue. We could see keratinization of the buccal mucosa, for example, when we see bilateral linea alba, or I guess unilateral linea alba for that matter. And we can also see some keratinization beginning to occur in areas where perhaps our lining mucosa is supporting a removable partial denture. So sometimes the rubbing of that removable partial denture as it's sitting on that lining mucosa can cause some sore spots or keratinization. But for the most part, our lining mucosa is non-keratinized. And it's important that we know the differences between keratinization and non-keratinization, because this gives us a lot of information about what tissue is going to be more protected. It gives us a lot more information about what tissue is going to provide a better mechanical barrier against trauma or bacteria. And quite frankly, it tells us what kind of tissue is going to respond well to topical anesthetic. We know, for example, that non-keratinized tissue responds well to topical anesthetic, and our keratinized tissue, so our attached gingiva, our hard palate, not so much. The third type of tissue that we focus on is our specialized mucosa, and that is the mucosa that lines the dorsal surface of the tongue. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Stay tuned all month long as we rocket in Are You Smarter Than a Dental Hygiene Student Preparing for Their National Boards Exam? To all the hygiene students out there listening, we are here with you. We support you. Best of luck, and may the odds be ever in your favor. This has been another episode of Fast Facts, Perio Edition with Katrina Sanders. Please feel free to reach me on Instagram at The Dental Wine Genist or on my website, www.katrinasanders.com. Cheers.